Hey, this is Jamie from Green River Ordnance. You're listening to Lone Star Community Radio on 104.5 KCZW LP Conroe and 106.1 KZCC LP Conroe and worldwide on irlonestar.com.
Trick or treat, Lone Star Radio listeners. This is Dick, the general manager, taking this quick moment to remind you that Lone Star Community Radio is looking to fill some of our talk show slots along with some of our DJ slots. We have a new show airing on the 10th, Making Connections with Stacey Harris, which will air every second Tuesday of the month at 1 p.m. Make sure to check it out along with our other programs on Lone Star Community Radio. For more information on Lone Star Community Radio, visit us online at irlonestar.com. And again, if you're interested in doing something with us, call the station, 936-647-3776. Thanks for checking out this recording, and I hope you guys enjoy.
It is Mornings with Lone Star with Dick and Skippy and Jake in the studio. Jake not able to determine who he's going to be a fan of, so he's wearing LSU. And is that Michigan on your head?
No, it's not Michigan. It's Marymount University in Arlington, Virginia.
Okay. There's a story behind that ball cap, I know.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to listen to
That's
that
where that
later.
long-lost love went. Never returned.
Never returned.
I'm still looking for.
It's 10 o'clock. It's the nitty-gritty talk block here with the three of us. We got some things to talk about today. First off, a sound off to Tom Petty, who did pass away last night. He's 67, I believe. 66 years of age. As I was talking with Dick earlier, Jake, I wasn't a particular fan of his music, but I respected it. I respected him, and I will miss his presence.
He was a staple as far as, you know, the rock and roll. When you think rock and roll, one of the big names you think is Tom Petty.
I didn't.
No?
No. Like, I heard of his music, and I know it's like one of those, if you buy the top 20 hits of this, like the early 80s, late 70s kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But then I just missed it. I just missed the Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers boat.
I saw him in concert in Houston at like BuzzFest, Aerofest, one of those. And that was my first concert to ever go to. Kansas, Tom Petty, Styx, awesome concert, and yeah, I fell in love with him then. That was so.
My favorite exposure to him was in the movie. What?
Is that why you're wearing that hat?
No.
Is that where you went to school?
No.
Okay.
My favorite exposure to him was in there's a Kevin Costner movie called The Postman, which was universally reviled, but I really liked it. Post-apocalyptic future, and Tom Petty pretty much plays himself. A little nod and a wink. It's like, hey, aren't you famous? Well, I was once. And, yeah, so that was my primary exposure to Tom Petty. Plus, when I first moved back to America, one of the first videos I saw on MTV was, I can't remember the name of it, but it took place, again, in a dystopian future with, like, hover cars and stuff. And it's these, he and the band find these old instruments. And, you know that was the gist of the video. But there's another side to the Tom Petty death, and that it was reported way too early yesterday. And I'm going to rant a little bit on CBS, who kind of led the charge on that. I'm pretty vocal about how I miss the old days of journalism, where you would get two independently verifiable sources before you would put something out. And certainly in the case of a tragedy, especially death, you would wait until the family was notified. And what we find out here is that CBS ran with a story based on an erroneous tip by a single police officer saying that he had died. They put it out without getting it verified, and then saying he died when he hadn't died, and the family had not been notified as such. And that incenses me, Jake and Dick. What happened there? The rush to be the first with the story, all journalistic integrity is out the window. And this is not TMZ. This is not BuzzFeed. This is not Bob's Basement. This is CBS.
And is it excusable that those prior sources or other sources that you named, they're kind of the ones to blame for this? I mean, they started this era of just knee-jerk reaction journalism that was, I have to be the first to report this.
I think
and therefore CBS feels obligated that, you know, hey, we've got to run with this story now.
Well, I agree with the first half of that absolutely your TMZs of the world are responsible, but that doesn't mean just because everybody else jumps off the bridge, oh, I'm going to.
And I'm not excusing what CBS did, but I'm saying that that's why we've ended up where we're at.
Yeah, off the air earlier, Dick and I were talking about, when the turnaround came, because I am pretty, rabidly livid about this. And I told Dick, one of the first jobs I had when I moved back to America was selling cable television door to door. And it was a hard sell back then in the early 80s, because to convince people there would be a channel dedicated to a single topic for 24 hours a day. Because up until that point, we had our 3 broadcasts, ABC, NBC, CBS. There was no Fox. We had independents who showed Bowling for Dollars and bad movies late at night. And at midnight, they'd play the national anthem. And then you'd get the static for the rest of the night. So the concept of a single channel showing music only, weather only. And the first one was SNC, Satellite News Channel. And to sell that there would be enough news to necessitate 24-hour day coverage. Now look at it. We had 3 networks originally, which would give us an hour or so of news a night. So 3 hours a night. Now at any given moment, we have up to 30 news channels running 24/7. And so, yeah, they got to come up with the story. They got to be the first. But it's at the expense of journalistic integrity. It's like the rule book is being thrown out the window. Can you imagine you standing at the deathbed of your husband, father, wife, family member, mother, who has yet to die, and on the news behind you, they're reporting he's dead? And it just bugs the snot out of me.
Well, but I don't think it bugs the snot out of all of America, and that's the problem.
It should.
It should, but we want to consume things as fast as possible and move on to the next, essentially. And we want to be the first to be able to talk about it and say, oh, did you hear about this?
I want to be the first to get it right. And then that's where I think it's kind of falling apart there. While we're on the topic of CBS, I have a couple of issues with them. This is my CBS rant of the morning. There was a vice president lady working at CBS who tweeted that the victims of the Las Vegas shootings deserved what they got because they tend to be, country music listeners tend to be Republican and gun nuts, and was very vocal and clear about she had literally no sympathy for them. Fortunately, she was fired in one of these situations. I think firing is too good, too swift, and I'm not saying I advocate tar and feathering, but it's a possibility. But just the mindset on that staggers me, that someone has that mindset, that has a revulsion for opposing views so hard. We can no longer respect opposing views, it seems. And that's how I opened up with Tom Petty. I was not a fan of his music. Maybe 1 or 2 songs I could deal with. Wasn't a fan. I hear the guy was awesome. I'm sure he was an awesome guy. I respected him as an artist, as a man. I just didn't like his music. So I can oppose, and even violently oppose, opposing views from the far left or even the far right, views that are contrary to my own, but not hate everything about that entity. And I think that I'd like to think I'm not one of the only people who feel this way.
No, but you are one of the few. You're in the last 2 statements, in the last 2 big CBS rants, you have singled yourself out amongst the majority of Americans. And unfortunately, that's the society we live in, where it's overreaction and it's no tolerance for the opposition.
Jake, do you think, because, obviously you're appreciatively younger than me, and I feel like sometimes I'm the old guy yelling at kids to get off my lawn. I have to scroll, when it's like age group on a drop-down menu thing, I have to scroll down way too far to get to my age group or my year of birth. Is there a way, do you see a turning point on this? Is the youth, is the lost cause there, or?
I don't. Prior to this past election, I thought there was. I thought that we were seeing a trend in my generation where the major topics of homosexuality, transgender, political nature, all those sorts of issues were, people didn't care, as far as my age, what you necessarily thought. They were going to go their own path. But when in the university area of where I'm at Sam Houston, the amount of Bernie Sanders supporters there were, and if you came out openly opposed to Bernie and his methods, they ridiculed you. And I was in a political science class where the only 2 Republicans in the class that were openly in favor of Trump were myself and the professor, which it just was, it opened up a Pandora's box of just everything. They ridiculed us, and so and that was the first sign of no, they're going to be stuck in the same old ways that we've been stuck in for the past hundreds of years. It's just sad.
Interesting point on that, because again, Dick and I were talking just before you walked in the studio that it tends to be these shout downs, like on college. Universities used to be the hotbed of discussion. Discussion happened on campuses. Changes was affected because of debate, healthy debate. Now, if a student hears something they don't want to hear, they're going to dress up like a female body part. They're going to shout it down. They're going to get in the person's face or pout and go to their safe room until that person is not allowed on campus or cannot even finish a statement. The most recent example is the Secretary of Education, who had a very awesome speech, and the speech was actually released so people could actually read what she was going to talk about, but couldn't say because she kept on getting shouted down by, this is what white supremacy looks like, which had nothing to do with the topic at hand. So I'm glad to hear you say that maybe there's a turning point, because I'd like the discussion to resume. I'd like to think the mob mentality can go both ways. And finally, my final CBS rant is that I'm trying to watch the first episode of Scorpion because my power was off when it came back on. And apparently CBS has yanked off most of the on-demand episodes because they want you to go to CBS All Access. CBS, I'm not going to pay $6.99 a month just to watch cruddy Star Trek Discovery and my one episode of Scorpion. So let's get with it, CBS.
Well, wait, so they're going to charge you $6.99 even though you already pay your cable subscription? So it's not like if you pay ESPN, you get ESPN, watch ESPN?
Well, what it also means is you don't have to have cable.
But CBS literally does not have enough shows
You could just have CBS.
Okay, so if I pay $6.99 for just CBS, $6.99 for just ESPN, $6.99 for just HBO, $6.99
for
the
NBC,
list goes on and on and on.
Fox,
So I end up paying cable bills.
Pretty much. And CBS does not inspire me.
I don't know. I think it's more of you get to decide what you want to do with your money.
Yeah, but what if I want to watch something on all those?
Well, because I would say if anything in the future, we're talking about the future of this kind of stuff. It's a lot better than what it is now. Because basically, when you sign on to Comcast or whatever, you're done. You're tied into the red tape for minimum of whatever your contract is.
2 years, probably.
So that's what I'm saying. So you're tied in. You can cancel. They'll charge you, and then it'll just be this weird. Like, I don't want this anymore. I don't want to pay it. And then my favorite one is my girlfriend. Right when she got her cable, she got NFL Sunday Ticket for X amount of days for free. And they said they were going to cancel it after it's done. They never canceled it, so they kept trying to charge her $79 every month or whatever it was. And she's like, I don't want this. Why do I keep getting this? So what you're faced with is what do you want as a consumer, and then how do you manage it from your month to month instead of 2 years to 2 years. So if I want to watch CBS for a month, I just pay the $10, and then I'm done. I'm like, cancel subscription. And like, for example, Netflix. I had Netflix before it was even on demand online. I had the DVD for 2 to 4 years, like when I was in high school and stuff like that, because they had the lesser known movies that I couldn't go rent, and I didn't want to spend $30 to $40 for a master version because those are the movies they only print them in those expensive DVD box sets, and that's why I got it. And then right when I found somebody like my mom or someone who had the online, I'd be like, I'm canceling. I'm just taking your subscription. And we kind of just share. Like, that's what a lot of people do. And clearly Netflix's model, they don't care. They even have profiles. You can set different profiles.
Right.
So with CBS Access, to me, it's more of like, do you really want to consume that content? And we're talking about a situation where you're paying zero cable bill. You're just paying for your internet. And then you're asking, what do you want to do this month? Well, I want HBO and I want CBS because Game of Thrones is on and CBS.
But that's where that continues to become an issue, because go and bundle your internet and cable and you're going to pay $90 a month. Go and pay for just internet, you're going to pay $80. So I can pay $10 and get unlimited cable, or essentially unlimited cable.
Right. I think CBS, people like CBS need to, and I'll be really brief about this, I'm sure we have to go to break, but they need to, I think, fix their price point, because they're, as Jake pointed out, okay, so that's CBS, $7 a month, and then NBC, and then ABC, and then Fox.
A bundle package.
Yeah, and...
Well, they're still solving the issue with this type of culture trying to consume all this content. Really, cable pays X amount of dollars to CBS to have access to their content. So that's another factor in this whole deal, because I bet you anything, when renegotiations happen, these cable companies aren't going to like CBS Access, because like, this is going to take away people from subscribing because they can just watch you on your own. And this is why HBO had that big deal with and AMC had that huge blackout on DirecTV. HBO is going to be facing something similar, but HBO did the right thing 25 years ago where they're an add-on subscription. They're not part of the cable package. Now, the cable package can make a special deal saying we're going to include HBO. We're going to pay for it technically for you for 6 months, but then you have to pay the $15 a month.
I want to do some research in the break, and I want to talk to you about Sling TV. I
heard about that last night, and thank you. I wanted to raise that too.
It's a pretty interesting deal. We'll be right back. Mornings at Lone Star, nitty gritty. Stick around.
Conroe Coffee is a local coffee shop located in the heart of downtown Conroe at 206 North Main Street, Conroe, Texas. Between the Crichton Theater and the Owen Theater, Conroe Coffee serves breakfast, lunch, and dinner, along with tasty treats and Italy's favorite coffee. Have your favorite coffee or just have a midday snack be personally delivered to you at any location in downtown Conroe. All you have to do is call 936-CONROE-C or 936-266-7632.
We'd like to thank our sponsor at Conroe Coffee for supporting Mornings with Lone Star and Lone Star Community Radio. Don't forget to check them out online at conroecoffee.com.
You're back. Mornings with Lone Star with Dick and Skippy and Jake. We're bringing the big guns today. We're tearing down CBS bit by bit. Before the break, Dick raised a really good point about where we're going towards is a pick and choose, like a cafeteria menu of options. And I'm a fan of that. I think CBS is kind of dropping the ball, which is the polite way to put it, of charging too much or not offering enough, that they're offering basically Star Trek Discovery, The Good Life, or The Good Wife, or whatever it's called, the sequel show, The Good Fight. And then pretty much reruns of all their library. Not enough content to grab my attention. Sooner or later, I will find a bootleg copy of the season opener of Scorpion and not have to cave into CBS All Access.
I'm sure you could find it now.
I'm sure I could. I prefer to go the legal route before I go for the questionable route, and I'll just leave it at that. But I do like the concept of picking and choosing, one size fits all. And, as a segue, I think that's where the ACA, otherwise known as Obamacare, kind of fell apart. It's one size cannot fit all in any major, whether it's TV or healthcare, and I think there were issues.
Always got to make it political.
I got to make it political, man. But
he's a product of that generation.
I am a product of that generation. But I mean, I'm 52 years old with a wife who has reached a certain stage in life that, prenatal care is just not in our future or our present, and unless we wanted to pass it on to the grandkids. There's absolutely no reason for us to pay for that. There are health issues in my family that would be relevant to me that I would like covered, but other issues that I care not about. And I think for anyone wanting to replace or amend the current healthcare issue would do wise to think about not everyone needs everything. And maybe if you could give us some 10 to choose from as a base package.
Do you think the lobbyists of the healthcare providers would agree with that?
Here's the problem I have with that, Jake. In general, everyone's blaming the insurance industries. If you notice that insurance premiums are too high, it's your insurance provider. It's the wrong argument is being argued here. It's not the insurance that's so expensive. It's the services that are so expensive, which necessitate having insurance. For instance, if cars cost $500 each, then we would not need car insurance because we could afford to replace them or pay the medical bills of someone that we hit. So you wouldn't need it. It's the expense of the commodity that necessitates insurance. It is the $5,000 Kleenex boxes. It is the $30,000 MRI that are way out of control cost-wise that necessitate insurance. So let's stop blaming the insurance companies and start going after the root of the problem.
So I guess, how do we do that without looking at the supply and demand of the medical equipment and the doctors and the education costs that it costs for them to go become doctors.
Free market and opportunity. And the second you make a single payer system, single provider system, government run system, that's where you're locked in. Think about it.
Well, it's going to be interesting, especially if Donald Trump does the cross-state purchasing for insurance.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be really interesting because that's going to kind of flex the market a little bit price-wise, because basically now you can go to other states and look for insurance. Right now, you're basically located in your area, what's provided in your area.
Yeah. With the exchange, the Texas exchange.
So it's going to be, that's going to be really interesting just because of bargain shopping, like the free market, like you said, because that could really affect it for the worse or for the best. Most people who are, economic people, they'll say it's for the best long term because that will always hit that nice point, but there always will be a low point in the free market.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I'm not talking the truth, I encourage anyone to set me straight. But every technological advance in the universe has happened because of some form of competition. The space race, World War II, some profit margins, Coke versus Pepsi. Every technological advance, if you put the government in control of it, it goes to the lowest bidder and is committed to death. Think about if the U.S. government assumed control of the automobile industry, what cars we'd be driving.
They couldn't. AAA does. Shh. No, let's get back to the thing I want to tell Jake about Sling TV.
Okay. So how we got here was because we were talking about pick and choose packages and the television transition to that.
So Sling TV, basically the pros and cons of it. The pros are the access to channels that are cable channels, but it's just like TV. And like I said, really what I would encourage people is to look at what you consume. If you like on-demand, this Sling TV isn't on-demand. It is basically live TV. And you can record some stuff, but depending on how big your package is and also depending on how good your internet is. Because they do everything by cloud. So you're going to be consuming a lot of data through Sling TV. And then on top of that, you're looking at having that limitation on being able to basically record and watch.
So it's not a streaming service. That's where
It is a streaming service, live TV streaming. So you turn on Disney Channel, you're going to be watching whatever Disney Channel is airing at that moment.
So then why wouldn't I just pay for Hulu? Pay for the upgraded package because Hulu has both of those options.
So that's where I'm saying people are going to be going towards whatever fits their viewing experience.
Mm-hmm.
And it is kind of amazing, especially with today's technologies. You can definitely find, because the biggest driving force behind this is sports.
Well, yeah.
Sports is the last one because they're really tied into big money to cable providers. And when those contracts come up, it's going to be really interesting because people don't know how to handle it. I know NBC is going through a huge debacle right now with soccer because when they purchased the rights to the Premier League in England, the first year they had it was really cool because they would put every single game on one of NBC's channels. So that's like USA, NBC Sports, NBC Sports 2, NBC. There's several others, but they were like you could always watch a game online or on TV. This year what they did was they took 35% of the games away, and you have to pay extra on top of your bill to see all the games.
Yeah, and I think for as far as sports go in American sense, we're going to see the first example of what's going to actually happen as far as negotiations go with major cable companies when at the end of the 2019 college football season, and what ESPN does with the SEC network, how all that ends up playing out with all the different cable providers and stuff like that. That'll be our big first insight to what the NFL is going to do in 2022 or 2024, what the NBA is going to do in 2022. I don't know when the NHL packages or cable contracts are up, but that'll be the first test that we see.
It's kind of similar to the writer's strike 10 years ago, wherever it was, because they wanted some of the residuals of online. And so that's probably going to be in the negotiations of these contracts. We're allowed to stream this on any service we want, not just DirecTV or whatever. And I know MLS did that. With the MLS is like one of the first sports to actually have an all-inclusive watch any games. But unfortunately for the Dynamo, their broadcasting rights are owned by Root Sports, so there's some blackouts with just the Dynamo, similar to the Philadelphia Flyers and the Comcast area.
Everybody who's under Root or AT&T.
So like anyone that's owned by one of those companies, and they'll be blacked out. But there's so many ways to watch sports that doesn't cost any money if you really are a diehard sports fan. I mean, you go to any bar, pretty much they pay the premiums to show you any game.
But I'm still paying for that beer, that $5 beer.
Well, I know that's what I'm saying. Like, it's one of those things you're always going to be spending money somewhere, unless you go the illegal streaming route, which those are available on YouTube and all that stuff.
But we don't promote this.
Well, no, I mean it's just inconvenient if you're trying to do that because you don't have. Oh, I know it's just channel 21 on.
It's not guaranteed.
Yeah. But I think it also comes down to each consumer in the United States is going to get smarter and smarter and smarter and figure out this tech. And
they're also going to get more discriminating. They're going to say, you know what, I'm not going to pay extra for that 35% of soccer games. I already paid for the package, so I'm
well, they
done
won't
with
pay
you
it.
guys.
They won't pay it, or they'll find someone else who will, and they'll share. I mean, because that's one thing that I'm surprised they don't have an iron fist over is sharing logins. Because that to me is pretty crazy.
Well, and like you said, Netflix embraces it. I shouldn't say they embrace it,
but don't they have like a limit on it can only be on 2 or 3 devices simultaneously?
But I think you can upgrade the package though.
You can, and so our family has the upgraded package, and we have 4 logins. But out of those 4 logins, we're allowed, I think, like 16 screen, 4 per person at one given time.
Well, then they have a business model that they understand. Okay, we can fight it. We can make it as difficult as possible for people to enjoy it, or we can just cave into it, swallow the loss, and make up for it with more subscribers. And I think more people are willing to subscribe to Netflix because this is perceived, oh, they're so lax, they're letting me get away with something, ha.
Yeah.
Well, that's why Hulu I thought Hulu was going to die off. But then they made those deals with the cable companies, and now they're really one of the premier streaming services because if you want to watch current TV live, also on top of that, previous, like if you miss an episode, it's just like watching Netflix, but it's for current TV, and which is to me is pretty cool.
Unless it's a CBS show like Scorpion, because Hulu doesn't have it on. Okay,
because CBS didn't make a contract.
That's right.
Didn't make a deal with them.
That's right. CBS they're so desperate to try to keep All Access afloat. I think CBS, you should cut your losses pretty quick.
It'll be curious to see where the sports land on this because I think they're going to be the big player out of all of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's where the money comes in, and that's who decides who does what. I mean, the other news, if you didn't know, a couple, not too many hours ago, Microsoft stopped doing Groove Music. Groove Music was a competitor against Spotify, and they closed it down. And like couldn't compete with Spotify. So that's one of those things that's going to be pretty interesting to see what the music industry does and how it finally pays out its checks. It is 10:31 here on Lone Star Community Radio. Mornings of Lone Star. We're going to take a quick break. Mornings of Lone Star. We'll be back after this.
Conroe Coffee is a local coffee shop located in the heart of downtown Conroe at 206 North Main Street, Conroe, Texas. Between the Crichton Theater and the Owen Theater, Conroe Coffee serves breakfast, lunch, and dinner, along with tasty treats and Italy's favorite coffee. Have your favorite coffee or just have a midday snack be personally delivered to you at any location in downtown Conroe. All you have to do is call 936-CONROE-C or 936-266-7632.
We'd like to thank our sponsor at Conroe Coffee for supporting Mornings with Lone Star and Lone Star Community Radio. Don't forget to check them out online at conroecoffee.com.
It is Morning with Lone Star with Dick and Skippy. I'm Skippy, he's Dick, and across from me is Jake.
Good morning.
And we've been talking, we've been ripping up CBS pretty good.
Well, CBS just sucks.
Right now they do. I gotta say, guys, CBS, I think you need to, as Jake chokes on
mouthful of coffee.
As Jake chokes on his Conroe coffee.
It's delicious.
Delicious Conroe coffee. And then we start getting the sports and the NFL ticket, etc. And I'm thinking NFL, that argument is this week not as important as it was last week.
No.
And just,
Well, I mean, Jake, what do you think of all this wishy-washy back and forth since this tragedy happened with Las Vegas? There's been reports of, like, everyone kind of getting it back in the groove of, like, let's just get back to the national anthem because
we've got bigger fish to fry.
We're one nation.
Yeah.
Well, like I was telling earlier, I was like, I really love how ESPN made an announcement last week not to show the national anthem. And then when Las Vegas happened, they're going to be like, okay, now we're going to show them the national anthem. And it's strange to me, one, that they have to make statements. you know, about it, because to me they're putting their foot down on one area, and then they went back on it because I guess they finally honestly identified, oh, when we do the national anthem, it's a pride thing. It is something that we come together doing and honoring and mourning.
Well,
But
that's
the only way it makes it okay.
But that's the new head of Sports Center. They recently got a new president of operations there, and he is one that has come out and said that, you know, we're not going to just be these, you know, quiet, you know, people off to the side on social issues. We're not going to just focus on sports, because there's more to sports than just the actual games being played. And so he said that, you know, I want to be someone who is a figure within the public, and, you know, I want ESPN to be that motivation for change and positiveness and yada, yada, yada. But yeah, he said in doing that, we're going to come out and be vocal and put down our foot in certain areas and encourage other behaviors and certain things like that. So coming down and putting the foot down against the national anthem, I mean, it was his way of, I guess, protesting the flag in ESPN's own fashion. And at least that's how I received it. But then when this all happened,
Well, that's what I'm saying.
He just contradicts himself.
Yeah,
and
it's a strange. It's a.
You're protesting
to me,
America,
what's the
but then you're
focus
not.
issue? And they're not sticking to it. And
also, his revenue numbers are coming in, and the numbers come in. I did find it interesting that I think it was the deputy commissioner of the NBA today or yesterday released to all team owners in the NBA and all players a reminder of the rules of how to conduct oneself during the national anthem, the implication of, you don't think so?
He's going about this all the wrong way. I understand that he wants to reinforce this idea. I get it. But you have to make this more private. You have got to do this in a more private manner, because if throwing it out in the public shows the dictator nature of your league, and that looks bad. Not that I am opposed
But he
to,
is the boss, and if a boss says we have a dress code, we have lunchtime, you get this much an hour, these are your job responsibilities.
Don't take this the wrong way. What color is his skin?
I'm presuming white, but I have no idea.
He is white.
Okay.
The majority of your players in the NBA are what color skin? Black.
Mm-hmm.
The majority of your consumer of your product are African American, black, or some sort of minority.
Okay.
How is that going to look to them with a white man in power saying, no, you can't do this?
If the basketball players were making minimum wage, I would give it a thought.
Yeah, but they don't. Not everybody's going to care about that factor. I promise you right now. Not everybody's going to care.
I absolutely see your points. I'll arm wrestle you over it later. I don't fully agree with it, but I absolutely see
I'm
where
just
you're
saying
going
he
with.
needs to go about it more quietly,
Okay.
and more privately.
I get that.
well, I mean, that's also one of those things where he could have definitely said something internally, and then of course the first person who sees it is going to see it as,
They're going to leak it.
and they're going to leak it, and
'Cause-
then
is that what actually happened? I just heard on the radio that he did.
oh, that could have. I mean, I have
No. He
idea.
came out and made a public statement.
Oh, okay.
He came out and made a public
Then
statement.
you know what? I'm Team Jake on that one. If it had been handled internally and then leaked, which 4 seconds later, it makes all the difference in the world.
It really does, which is stupid, but it really does.
No,
Well, then,
it's a good
but
point.
then, like we were talking about earlier, everything just gets thrown in your face how much of a joke it is when everyone's responding to this tragedy in Las Vegas.
Mhm.
And it's just kind of like, where are we putting our hearts in this? What we as a culture are going to be doing about this? And it's just kind of funny to see the people who've been for months talking about this, talking about protesting, and then all of a sudden it's going to be bad taste if we continue to protest it. Because I was saying that guy on the Chiefs, I was like, props to that guy. I mean, that guy's going to get so much hate because
the single person who stayed seated.
who stuck with it. I mean, that's really what the idea is of the whole idea of the protest is.
I begrudgingly respect him for that very purpose. He did stick to his guns, and he's absolutely, as an American, allowed to
He's
do
gonna
what he
get
did.
eaten up. I was actually, when I saw it, I was like, I can actually see the NFL finding him. I can actually see that for this one.
If they did, the backlash. No, because that would continue the story. That would keep the story
Yeah.
going, and
They're
can't.
gonna hope it dies out. quick.
I know Roger Goodell will never come out and say this, but he is thankful that this event in Las Vegas, this tragedy in Las Vegas occurred. Not because he wanted anything bad to happen to those people, but it took the majority of the press off of him.
He was hoping for any headline. And, my recap of the whole sports anthem cop thing is that the sitting or kneeling or taking a knee started with Kaepernick's, I will say, anti-police views. And in light of Las Vegas, we had thousands, tens of thousands of people running away in one direction and an incredibly brave few in uniform running the other direction, running into it. So before you start exercising your constitutionally protected right to protest police brutality or police actions, know that who was running in one direction and who was running in the other. And these same people were running into an unknown situation with an unknown number of gunmen, with unknown arsenal, and someone was the first to kick in that door expecting to die. Every police officer in Las Vegas was expecting to die that night and still did not cower, did not hide behind a barrier, did not refuse help, did not choose to protest their one job.
I mean, I did like those few drunk dudes who were flicking off the building with their beer in their hand. I thought that was,
Oh, I didn't see
yeah,
that.
there's some photos. And like, oh, there's the guy. There's that guy.
There's always the one guy who stands in front of the tornado and says, "Come on, bring it," and it is brought.
That probably would have been me.
Thank you for that, Dick. I was getting a little too into that. But yeah, absolutely. All the cops, without fail,
and
served and protected.
You know, just don't let the bad few apples ruin the entire bunch. I mean, nobody's perfect. Everybody has bad days. Everybody makes mistakes, and there are bad apples out there.
Absolutely, and in the industry, and of course, when you're a public servant, you are held to a higher standard. But my personal hat is off to every law enforcement officer every day, but particularly the Las Vegas police this week. So that's all I have to say about the NFL and the anthem this week.
And CBS.
And CBS. Hey, the Equifax CEO is gone.
Great transition.
Yeah, he took $18 million with him.
Oh, really?
I think what it is only $1 from just 18 million different people that subscribe to Equifax. He's just dipped in $1 in each one. But goodbye.
I still don't really get the whole thing.
I don't know.
I mean, I get that there's credit reports and they got hacked. But every time I read a story, it was almost like they did it on purpose. That's what people were trying to say about this whole deal.
The hiding it, it happened. They did not do much about it. It happened again, and that's everyone comes clean and is apologetic once they're caught, and that's in any crime or any bad situation. As a kid, you know, we're not sorry we raided the cookie jar until we're caught with our hand in it, and then it's I'm sorry, and you know we always apologize once we're caught. And Equifax was caught, and
twice though, right?
Twice. Well, they weren't caught the first time, which is why hey, let's not tell anyone, and we should be okay. We have patches we need to do it okay later, but if we put them on now, people will know that there's a security breach. So so he walks away with $18 million in his pocket. And I know I'm one of the people who's apparently my information got hacked. You did that thing where it would, and I love the fact that to find this out, you had to put in your social security number to a site that was not Equifax run. That was dumb, people. That was just flat out dumb. Anyhow,
so what does that mean that you were hacked? I mean,
well, they just got your information.
Like
everything.
So do you have to change your social security? Do you have to change your name?
Can't do it. The social security is mine and mine alone. My name is mine and mine alone. It's some part or all of my personal financial information is out there. Now, here's the thing. Someone wanting it bad enough, they're going to get it anyways. You can piece together, you know, the first 3 digits of your social security number are based on where you were born or where you applied for it. And there's a code. So my code is not from the city I was born in, but because I was in the military, it's through the nearest base. And I'll just leave it at that. I don't want to give out any numbers. But they're actually codes. If someone really wanted my information bad enough, they got it. My hope is that I'm just so far down the food chain, and, you know, it's like, please take my identity. Let me get another one. Please.
But you are listening to Mornings of Lone Star. We do have to take a break.
Take it.
We'll have our last segment coming up, and we'll talk more MWL Lone Star on Facebook, 936-647-3776 to leave us a message. Stick around. We'll be back.
Conroe Coffee is a local coffee shop located in the heart of downtown Conroe at 206 North Main Street, Conroe, Texas. Between the Crichton Theater and the Owen Theater, Conroe Coffee serves breakfast, lunch, and dinner along with tasty treats and Italy's favorite coffee. Have your favorite coffee or just have a midday snack be personally delivered to you at any location in downtown Conroe. All you have to do is call 936-CONROE-C or 936-266-7632.
We'd like to thank our sponsor at Conroe Coffee for supporting Mornings with Lone Star and Lone Star Community Radio. Don't forget to check them out online at conroecoffee.com. And we're back. Mornings with Lone Star, the nitty gritty, folks. The nitty gritty. We're here till about 11 o'clock. Coming up after that will be Chamber Chat with the Conroe Lake Conroe Chamber of Commerce. There's a lot of stuff going on this week and weekend. Just to give you a heads up, if you're looking for something fun to do with your family, Thursday there will be a farmers market in downtown Conroe, and then there'll also be a scavenger hunt, which we are participating here at Lone Star Community Radio. More information, experience downtown Conroe's Facebook, or just look up scavenger hunt, Conroe, all that kind of stuff.
Dick, another fun thing is happening in Conroe tonight, of all things. It's National Night Out, and at the Target parking lot right there on 105 and I-45.
Yeah.
5 to 8 p.m. There's going to be family-filled fun. I like alliteration. There will be a law enforcement there, fire department, some booths. Bring the whole family out, learn some safety stuff, and get to know your neighbors.
Is that where that bull's going to be? They're going to have a big bull there, right?
Yes.
Yes.
I have no idea.
I heard there's going to be like a 2,000-pound bull there that you can go pet and sit on.
2,000 pounds?
That's a lot of Big Macs.
That is. But he's like, yeah, I don't know. I think
Is it Bevo?
I don't know. Somebody was talking about it on one of the shows. I can't remember.
But hey, if that's the case, I am so there. I want to pet a bull.
Well,
Cross it off my bucket list.
The problem is you have to have money to go out, and I'm not in that market right now.
But see, this particular night out is my favorite color, free.
Oh.
Yeah, it's free. If you need gas money, I'll talk to you after the show. Because we want to spread that community cheer.
But yeah, so if you folks are looking for more information on that on Thursday and then tonight, Target, there's a lot of stuff going on this weekend with Lone Star Community Radio. It's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully that's the better news of today. One of the funniest things that I always like reading about is Mark Zuckerberg and how silly he is. And he's on this like apology tour for Facebook right now. If you haven't been reading about,
Really? What's he apologizing for?
he's
Dick?
apologizing about how Facebook was used to divide people, about the Russia thing, and about all the hate that is filled through the Nazis using Facebook, and how they got caught advertising to certain hate groups because their computers would advertise to them what other hate groups are advertising to them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just fun. This guy is a really interesting past, and it's funny how I always ask the question, how did he get here? How's he still getting here? Like, what's going on with this guy? And I think it would be great to do some research on Mark Zuckerberg, especially how Facebook was created, and really Facebook, how it grew to what it is today.
Something beyond the Social Network, the movie, which Aaron Sorkin wrote, and it's actually, the dialogue was awesome, but I wonder how much of it was apocryphal and which, not dramatized. And but it's a good starting point. If you haven't seen it, do watch it.
Yeah. I mean, he has it was great when they did the IPO of it. I was like, why would they do what? And I mean, it is what it is now. But I wonder how much money Facebook's making these days, especially from Russians.
That's right. And where will Facebook be in 5 or 10 years? I mean, think about it. Of all the hot stuff that, had, first it was MySpace and lots of technological advances soon to get made way for others.
Well, it's almost like they took Google's business plan is they had to set a cash flow. They had to have a company that gets a cash flow, and that's where Facebook ads comes into play. And then Facebook uses that cash to their advantage, either purchasing cooler apps that people consume, like Snapchat and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then they just keep running with the ball on that until they develop something new. Similar to like how Google has now become Alphabet. And Alphabet
so
is
they'll integrate into the next level.
Yeah, it's like the beast is growing, and it's going to keep growing. And I don't know if Facebook today really, like how I use it, we use it for the business here. It's a great way to spread news at a faster pace because people, it's kind of like everyone getting together reading the Montgomery County Police Reporter to see everyone that's going to jail. Similar to that, like people go to Facebook, if they fine-tune their Facebook like I did, everything I see is relevant to me, and I like reading it. So it'd be like either friends having babies or things like that I'm not continuously calling them like, hey, you have a baby yet? Did you have a baby yet? And then you see it on Facebook. Oh, call them like, hey, I saw that. Congratulations.
I think Facebook actually found its niche with that. If you remember do you remember the early days, Jake, of Facebook? It was way different than what it is now.
You mean when college dudes got to check out the college girls coming into school? Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, those little games and stuff. Yeah, well, the Facebook of today, and I think Zuckerberg and company got smart and they found their niche. This is for the families wanting to keep in touch, knowing that, and as you pointed out, there are other platforms that the kids are going to. And so they're buying them up. They're integrating. It's a lot like what the Roman Empire did.
I think what also is, if you look at the maturity grows with people, that's what Facebook offers. It offers the depth of what people are looking for in relationships. Now, like Snapchat and like the younger crowd, that's just quick fun.
That's 6 seconds of video.
And that's good for, I would say, for fun and younger people. But as we get older, we're looking for more deeper meanings and relationships and stuff like that. And that's why if you go to Facebook, they're constantly making those silly reminders and those videos because they know that really touches you because you've been on. Like if you're on Facebook for more than 2 years, right, you'll be reminded, hey, remember last year this person died? And, that kind of stuff. I remember one time I got a reminder was like, it said the way they worded it was as if I passed away. And it's like, always remember Richard Schissler for, the things he did or something like that. I was like, why is Facebook reminding me of this? And like, it was really strange. But no, I mean, it's a great tool to use.
And Zuckerberg is growing too. He's aging with it.
Yes.
So he's changing his personal business model of it, his vision of it, to match his own hopeful maturity.
Well, I mean, I don't really know. I remember reading the first or watching the first IPO meeting. What he wanted to do is he really wanted to tie in the email and your bank account all into one thing. So you go to Facebook. So instead of clicking on the ad for Amazon, it'll take you to Amazon. It would all be inclusive on Facebook. And you'll notice a lot of people don't realize this on your apps, like on your phone. If you click on an ad or something through Facebook on your phone, it keeps you in Facebook. Mm-hmm. You're using like a web browser in Facebook. And they use this data somehow. People buy it or they use it to whatever. That's one thing I've never fully understood. I wish I could get some tech guy that could explain to me the end result of collecting all this data. Is it useful when the standard usefulness of it is, we want to sell you stuff? But how effective is it really? Because the only thing I can think of is it's used for bad. Like all this data being collected can only like really be effective if it's used for malicious natures of activities and things like that, right? Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong, and obviously we're going to find some way to tie AAA into this.
Well, I mean, they're the soul of good. They're for the good.
Well, have we changed our stance on AAA? Or they?
I never said they were bad.
Oh, okay. Well, good. Well, I've been thinking they were bad. Okay. So I can come out and say I love AAA.
But no, I always wondered that. Like, always talking about, they're always collecting our data, all this kind of stuff. I'm like, all right, so what positive things can we use this data for if we're selling it to some Amazon company to sell us ads? I just don't see the money. I don't see it getting the return. Because I know some friends of mine literally work for companies that set up companies to do click advertising, and they get paid per click through, and if it's effective or not. And I just don't see it being that effective. Has it worked on you guys? Have you ever purchased something through an ad online?
No.
Through Facebook, an ad may pop up, if I research a book or something through Amazon or some video equipment, Facebook will soon reflect it afterwards. So obviously there's a tie-in, but I will still go to my source. I'm an Amazon Prime member. I will go to Amazon through Amazon. Yeah. I'll try to cut out as many middlemen as possible.
Well, I mean, because that's the argument between the Coca-Cola advertising. Why does Coca-Cola advertise? Well, because they just want to remind you they're still around, not because they're trying to sell you this thing to buy today. It's more of like, that's what Amazon does. Just come to Amazon to purchase all your stuff. That's why they had that huge study about the interface of the one-click through and how a huge issue when that first happened. Look it up. Amazon had a big issue when they introduced the one-click buy thing. Mm-hmm. People didn't really get it after they set it up that it literally was one-click buy. And so, like, family members were clicking on, like, oh, I like that. But they didn't understand the difference between look more into it or click to buy now. And
or even shopping cart it.
Yeah, so people were clicking on it and like it's showing up. Like, oh, I didn't click this. Oh, little Timmy did.
It should be a law to have the "Are you sure?" window pop up on anything.
Yeah.
But thanks for checking us out today, folks. We'll be back tomorrow morning, and this will be available if you're just now tuning in. This morning's Lone Star Nitty Gritty. Thanks, Jake from Sports Talk. He'll be on tomorrow at 1 o'clock talking sports. And don't forget, we're on iTunes, YouTube, and Google Play for our podcasts. And special thanks to Tom Petty for all the music he did and the people he influenced.
Thank you, Tom.
And all that kind of stuff. And especially our sponsor, Conroe Coffee.
Thank you, Conroe Coffee.
Coming up next, Chamber Chat with your Lake Conroe Chamber of Commerce. So stick around here on your community radio station.
Thanks for checking out this podcast of Lone Star Community Radio, Montgomery County's community radio station. If you enjoyed this recording, make sure to check out our past shows online at irlonestar.com or their respective video or podcast formats on YouTube, Google Play, or iTunes. If you have any questions regarding the show, either it being about sponsorships or questions for the host, contact the station manager at dick@irlonestar.com or call the station at 936-647-3776. This show was recorded in downtown Conroe, Texas at the Lone Star Community Radio Studios, and Lone Star Community Radio reserves all rights to this recording and images.